Welcome
to
to
Shade in
Shade
the
in the
City.
City.
I'm your girl, Treese.
It's Nels.
And y'all, it's Sunday fun day. And my team won today. You know, I gotta rep my squad. But yes, thank you guys for joining us. We are here to review Married at First Sight, season 15, episode 14, y'all. We got one more episode before decision day. And I was just really shocked. A lot of the things that I'm not gonna lie, we said that we were like, oh, this just needs to happen or such and such. And you think it fixes everything and it actually doesn't. So yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. I'm ready to get into it and I'm ready to get shady. Thank you, Shade Squad. Thank you, Shade Squad, for coming back to see us, and welcome new viewers. If you have not already, make sure you hit the like button
and that subscribe button.
And let's get into it, y'all. Let's get shady. Self-love. Self-love.
Ready to go on their getaway. Nate and Stasha, they stopped by the sex store. They have become frequent to the sex store. They probably know them by name. Okay. They went to go get some goodies
It's
to
like
bring
Cheers.
along on the trip. What'd you say?
It's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
So stupid. Justin says that he's excited to have some bro time. So they can get a chance to play some Monopoly.
And make some noise, have a few brews. I said, Alexa said, is that what men do? That's what y'all do? He said, yeah, that's what we do. She said, no, I think that's a Justin
thing. I agree.
I wish my man would tell me that's what him and his boys did. They just sat around and played Monopoly and drank. I wish.
Play Monopoly on what?
What'd you say?
On some ass.
Right, on some ass.
Stasha tells Nate that, she's really excited. And for him to use these vibrating panties, she thinks that it'll be good to use around the group. Stasha, you are really showing yourself.
She a whole
freak. She really showing her true colors.
What is that? Is that voyeurism? Is that what that's called?
I thought that's when people watch you.
I thought. Let me get my definition straight before I
could be wrong. I could be wrong. We could look it up, but I thought I thought that was when people watch you. I could be wrong. But so Kristen and Mitch are packing up for the retreat, and he says,
yes,
they have an hour drive.
I'm sorry. Voyeurism does mean watching. Sorry, Shade Spot. I was wrong.
And he's hoping, they can talk through their things while they're on the road. And Kristen is definitely down for it. Because she says she doesn't want a repeat of the pool party. Miguel surprised Lindy with a beautiful dress and lets her know that him and the entire group have a secret. They are planning to throw her a prom.
I thought that was super cute.
That was super cute. And you know what?
Y'all, it was super cute until it wasn't.
I thought it would just it was supposed to set the tone for the weekend.
It was. And y'all, I think I said this, right? And y'all had me feeling low-key bad and, making me feel like, oh, I'm being hard on Miguel and whatever. And I said, no, something about Miguel tell me he not, all the way there. He might not be wrapped too tight. And he has a good cover-up.
He already threw me off with the Dungeons and Dragons. So Justin and Alexis are in the car headed to the retreat, and he tells her, he's excited. So, he can get his wife all to himself. And she's like, that's what you want. That's all you want. You want your wife to yourself. That's like you selfish, sir. She ain't say that. That's my words, not hers. Mm-hmm. Lindy is also hoping for some alone time with Miguel. Miguel sounds like he's ready to be taken advantage of. Look, especially after this prom that he done planned out. He like, what you plan to do to me? And he probably could have got all that.
Had he not showed his ass.
Right? Now, I don't know if Nate waited till the cameras came on to say this, but he tells Stasha that they'll start with the butt plugs first. And she's like, what are you talking about?
I did not catch that at all.
They was in the car, and I think he was joking because he was like, yeah, I think we'll start with the butt plugs first. And she's like she looked mortified. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, turn that shit off.
I don't know. Stasha has proven that she's into trying things.
I don't know. She gives like normal freak level. She doesn't give like that freak level.
Different strokes for different folks.
I'm not going to get into that with you. So Kristen tells Mitch that anytime they do anything, she does go into it with the most optimistic energy, and it usually goes downhill. Mitch admits that he didn't handle, his shit properly. Kristen says the issue for her was that he had a chance to clear the air and he didn't, so she snapped.
Right.
And she apologized for that. I'm not. She's a totally different type of Virgo, or maybe she's just more mature than me, because I feel like there's a reaction for every action. I'm just, this is what you get when you do this. So
right.
He accepts her apology and says that it's safe to say that, she was upset going into the evening, and he was feeling like he was being attacked and kind of thrown under the bus. But he accepts responsibility because he's the one that had the conversation with her sister, something that, he hadn't even told Kristen yet.
Right.
And he doesn't want to be the husband who tells his wife how to be. Mm-hmm. Kristen says that she really just wanted him to say so badly that she's beautiful inside and out, and she didn't get that.
Right.
Mitch says that he doesn't want to feel like a puppet, but he does see a lot of great things about her. And he does think that she's beautiful, she's smart, she's fun to be around, and says that she makes a great partner. Kristen is like, hold up. Yeah. Wait, look, Kristen like, hold up. So right. What you say to me?
But I think I said this before. She is an affirmation person. Mm-hmm. So I was, and that's all she was waiting for. Even if he didn't show her, she was waiting for him to say it. And the fact that he couldn't say it really bothered her.
She's like, you ain't never spoke those words to me before. Like, mm-hmm. That's all I wanted these past 8 weeks. Like,
that might get you some cutting.
Right? Like, look, what you say, Daddy? So everyone pulled up to this beautiful, beautiful house.
It is nice.
Most of them are impressed. Apparently some of them, it wasn't up to par. They had higher standards. And it wasn't even the people that I would have expected, but to each their own.
Yeah, like this bed is hard. Mm-hmm. Like, well, Alexis must stay in 5-star,
I see you remembered who I was talking about. Because if anybody, I would have thought maybe Stasha would, but Stasha's pretty.
I'm thinking Stasha and her Nate were like, oh, this is real nice. Yeah. Imagine living here.
But Stasha's pretty humble.
This mattress is not, this is not memory foam. This is like, with the springs and shit in it.
Stasha notices that Kristen and Mitch are doing okay. She says that she's having a lot of fun and says they're really good. Mitch said they did some pinky promises. Mm-hmm. She lets us know that
they talked about everything.
What'd you say?
He says they talked about everything.
Mm-hmm. And he did a lot of validating. He validated a lot of things that, she's been asking for the past 2 months. So.
And Stasha says they're off to a great start. And Kristen says, we're back.
Like we never left, bitches.
Mm. Then they all talk about what are they looking forward to doing over the weekend. Lindy is looking forward to her prom, of course.
I understand. I don't know. I just felt like it was an amazing idea. I thought it was the most romantic shit ever for Miguel to even think of. And it should have set a beautiful tone for the weekend.
Right. But it didn't. As they talk about it, Alexis says that she wants to, I'm sorry. So then basically we learn, as Nels talks about, Lindy went to a school where formal dances were forbidden. And Stasia says that she has a present for her. And Lindy's a little confused. And she's like, is that what they do at prom? They give gifts? And Nate just laughs. And Lindy then, I guess, starts to catch on. But she thanks everyone for participating. And Stasha says she even went out of her way to get a gown for the occasion. I didn't expect nothing less. I feel like Stasha just wanted a reason to go get a gown. But you got the money. Go ahead, girl. We see everyone getting ready for prom. And Lindy says that, you know, this really means a lot, that Miguel went out his way to plan something, especially for her. And with decision day coming so fast, so it was definitely appreciated. Now, Mitch tells Kristen he knows Lindy is going to be the prom queen, but Kristen is his prom queen. And I thought that was super cute. Now, Alexis, I thought this was very interesting, and we get some new information. Alexis is asking Justin for help with securing her heels. She questions if he ever has done this before because he's having a hard time, and also brought up the fact that he had trouble when he was trying to take her bra off the other day when she asked him for help. So Justin says if he can't look at it, he can't take it off. Then she said, you know, she'll be a strong, independent woman and take her own bra off. You know, that's fine. And, you know, he's like, okay, well, you can keep that to yourself. And she's like, well, why would I be ashamed? And then she asked if he's ashamed that they had sex. And I said, ooh, okay. So
He wanted to let us know, y'all.
right. So they finally consummated the marriage. And he said it was just the right timing. And he didn't feel like he feels like they didn't have sex. They made love. Okay. He said, I saw the sun, the moon.
I ain't gonna lie, that's what I thought of.
And the rivers. That's what he was giving.
You know, we thought about the same damn song.
Right. Now, we can't say Alexa saw that same thing, but he said he did. Now, he's happy that they waited. He said it lasted.
Alexis saw that he was pleased.
Right. He said it lasted all night. She asked him if he enjoyed himself, and he said, yeah. Then she tells him, you know, he's distracted because he's too busy looking at her titties in the mirror. And, you know, he's like, they practice their prom poses in the mirror. And it's really cute to see them getting back to where they started. So I thought that was kind of adorable, but a little, even when they were talking about it, it sounded awkward. We'll get there. So now, Nels may have to help me out with this one because this was, I don't quite understand how this popped off, but we hear audio of Lindy trying to instruct Miguel on how she wants her pictures. Apparently, I guess she didn't want a selfie, and she was asking him to take another photo of her. Probably.
Well, yeah, she said she was looking out the window and she noticed that it was a beautiful view. So she asked him, hey, can you take my picture? And I don't know if he tried to hand her the phone so she could do a selfie or something like that. And she's like, no, I don't want a selfie. Like, I want a quality picture. And so,
but apparently her tone.
Yeah. I think she said something along the line of, like, now you're like making me mad or something like that, because she thought like he was joking or wasn't serious about getting the picture correctly for her. Right. And it sounded like he gave in, but then he tells her he doesn't appreciate her tone. So she was like, well, I was just kidding. Miguel doesn't seem that he really believes it. And he says that he's really not in the mood to be her personal photographer.
And Lindsay is like, I just don't want to fight over stupid things. I just want to enjoy my prom. So as the other couples are arriving to the prom, and they are waiting on the grand entrance from the prom queen. Now, Nate and Stasha get labeled the cool kids, while Alexis and Justin are the cool kids. Oh, you're funny. And Alexis and Justin are the jock and her cheerleader. I said, oh, that's no shade lifetime. While Mitch and Kristen are senior class president and the 5th year senior. I said, well, I'm assuming Mitch is going to be that 5th year senior. So as Lindy and Miguel arrive, and she says, although her and Miguel had an argument before the prom, she isn't going to let that ruin her evening. Alexa says they're going to do every stereotypical thing she's heard about prom. So Lindy talks about spiking the punch, the staircase photos, She talks about, sex is usually in the mix. And Alexa's like, well, I can't help you with that, girl.
Exactly.
But hopefully, that's in the cards for you. And she also says dancing, but no rules. And we clearly see Kristen has no rules. But they all toast to kick off Lindy's prom. So then they have I thought this was really cute, the Married at First Sight
yearbooks. Yeah, that was super dope. And they each individually had their own.
Right. Kristen says she loves it because it, reminds her of how far they've come as they party and have a good time. Lindy wants to slow dance. So then her and Miguel, you can tell Miguel is still a little bit off, but he's there, but not really there. So Miguel says this whole situation is trying him. Lindy says she feels like it's a communication thing. And she says that if he would have said he was tired and he didn't want to do any more pictures, she wouldn't have asked. Now, she tells him she didn't realize and apologizes again, but says, I can't say sorry anymore. And I give it to Lindy because she apologized her off this episode.
But he also did say that he felt like he told her earlier on that he was tired.
Right. So I don't know. Lindy and the only reason I'm going to say this ahead of time before we get to Miguel, because I am going to kind of defend him. I'm the type of person too. If I'm telling you I'm not in the mood for some shit and you're going to force me to do some shit, and you're going to get what you get. Because I told you how I felt. So, but Lindy admits that she thought he was messing with her. And, she was just like, I wanted you to get it right. And he says, exactly. You don't do that to me. So he said, I asked you if you were annoyed and you said no. And she said, she was joking. Lindy says once she realized, he wasn't messing with her and he was really tired, she wasn't mad. And Miguel points out that it was her tone that bothered him. He tells her not to talk to him like that forever. She keeps saying she was joking, and this irritates Miguel even more. Lindy didn't realize she was offending him.
I think that would have irritated me too. If we've already established the fact that you were legitimately upset or irritated, right, and now you're constantly trying to brush it off like, I was joking.
I wasn't mad. Yeah, just so it'll go away.
You were joking. I mean, you were legitimately upset. Mm-hmm. And this is what we need to touch on. Stop trying to brush it under the rug and say it was a joke.
Right. So, she said, Lindy didn't realize she was offending him and it didn't register to her that she was upset. Do y'all notice how many times I've said this? Because that's how many times it was said verbatim. I'm not even bullshitting you. I'm literally not repeating myself over and over and over for no reason. So then Lindy says it's alarming how harsh Miguel is. She said if she was really being angry and disrespectful, she would own it. And Miguel says it stirs him up how easily annoyed she gets by things. So, this whole perfect, cute little couple, it gives me Steve and Noy vibes a little bit. That is coming out towards the end. Your real issues, stuff that, is beneath the surface. So anyway, he said today was jarring because it's never happened to them before. He feels she was yelling and calls it an outburst. He said she didn't yell, but her tone went up. And so Lindy is like, starts to gaslight him again and say, yes, I'm a total fuck up. I'm the biggest ever because I asked you to take a photo of me. She's trying to follow, but doesn't know what to say. And Miguel says he just wants her to realize that he perceives that this to be their biggest challenge. Lindy feels like she can't lose him every time she does something wrong. And this is where I'm going to side with Lindy. She says she misread the situation. He says, the thing for him was, does she not feel frustrated, agitated, or irritated? And Lindy says, no, I felt neglected, ignored, because I felt like you were giving me a half-assed joke.
And I think she said it was like a vulnerable moment for her also.
Right. She's like, I'm all dressed up in this dress that you bought for me. I've never been to a prom. Mm-hmm. And, I'm excited. And, I wanted you to take pictures of me. So I get where she was coming from. And I also can understand because it does seem like that. And I think I said that earlier. It's very like, oh, Lindy is a little whatever, but she's trying to please Miguel, kiss his butt. And then eventually, almost kind of like Kristen, everybody has a breaking point when nothing you right. So, okay, no, Miguel says in the confessional that it's okay for her to be upset. It's the fact she apologized for being upset and not admitting she was. And I was like, see, Miguel, you're playing love games right now. She's damned if she did, and she was damned if she didn't. That's how I felt. I just felt like in this moment, he hit a Morgan on us. It won't nothing Lindy could do but leave him the fuck alone. Anything she said or did was going to irritate him.
And I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do.
Right. Yeah. So he says that he's mad that she didn't admit she was upset, and said it's the lack of transparency that's making him upset. She tells him that, she's a work in progress and it won't happen overnight, but that's why they must talk about it. So then we get over to the Married at First Sight Awards, the first ever, y'all. And, Alexis, wins life of the party. Was it Alexis that won life of the party?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the first award was life of the party. I know she said that she won it, and she was like, well, my husband said I can't go out anymore, so I'm gonna have to retire that title. And it was like, it's too soon.
Yeah, I was laughing because they were like, yeah, sorry, party's over. So then we get to Best Dancer, and Kristen, for some reason, is under the impression that this is her.
She said she voted for herself. She was like, have you seen me on the dance floor? We have. And that's why we know you should not be winning.
You did not get our vote or anybody else on that cast.
She said she's a winner in her heart. But
it goes to Nate, and he busts a move. And I was like, it's probably the best out of everybody there. Biggest drama queen goes to Lindy.
Well, I knew who that was.
She knows it's for her before they even announce it. She gets up to accept her award and thanks her mama for the drama and Miguel for putting up with it. Okay, very well said. Most emotional, y'all, do I even have to tell you? Because that was a given. It goes to Justin, and he pretends to cry, but
and it was a unanimous decision.
Right. But, he thanks them for recognizing his emotions. The next one is most likely to save the planet.
That was so easy.
And Kristen says, and who do we think the trash picking son of a Mitch is? But Mitch Silverstein. I said, Kristen is actually really funny. Alexis tells him his award is not biodegradable and apologizes for that as he comes up to accept. Now, as he tries to walk away, Alexis lets him know that he can't go because he has back-to-back awards. So, and he wins class clown for making them all uncomfortable and continuing to make them cringe. I said, very appropriate. So then we get over to, I believe it was best all around. And Stasha wins this. And she
actually seemed like she got a little emotional.
Right. She was like, oh my God, I never knew you guys felt like this.
Right.
And they're just like, no, girl, you're inspiration. And it was really cute. Biggest gossip.
And Kristen is like taking her time, like
Kristen's like, this is someone
this someone we can confide in and share with.
And Alexis
like, just give me my shit. It's me. It's me.
Now this was the shade. So they cut to Stasha and Nate in the confessional, and they both say and agree that they fully believe that she is responsible for the divorce of Ben and Morgan. Shade Squad, drop down in the comments. I would love to know, should we really put that much responsibility on Alexis for Ben's actions and Morgan's lack of forgiveness?
I think what she meant to say was that she played a hand in it, because what she was saying
absolutely, she played a hand in it. But what I got, and we already know how Nate felt about it. He's already disclosed how he feels about Alexis. But for Stasha to join in and be like, well, yeah, I would have went to Justin and told him that he needs to tell Ben to go and talk to his wife.
Versus going to tell Morgan.
Versus going to tell Morgan myself. So, and literally you see all the other cast members, even though she's laughing about it, all the other cast members are cringing because they clearly all feel this way.
Yeah.
Y'all drop down in the comments, Shade Squad. Let me know.
That's what most people would have done. Said, hey, you need to go talk to your partner about this. Instead of going to tell their partner what they've been saying and who they've been saying it to.
And Nate basically says she's a snitch. I was like, ooh. Now, Alexis presents the next award.
Most likely to stay married. And then she said,
oh, okay, yeah.
Then she said, it's Kristen and Mitch. She was like, just kidding.
Right. And Kristen
Mitch was like, that was so unnecessary.
And I was like, that's shady. That was shady. I was like, just because you mad because you got an award for being a snitch. But the award actually goes to Lindy and Miguel. Now, Miguel says a good team. They are a good team, and it's not easy. He said, despite his skepticism at first, he did embark on the journey to find someone like Lindy. Lindy says she feels like marriage just takes work, and no matter who it is you're married to, you must just keep fighting for each other. And she said it's so easy for her to fight for Miguel because of how much she loves him and how amazing he is. And I was like, well, that's real nice after that last conversation. I would have
thought that would have even made the weekend great. Like, okay, we're talking great about each other and now we can move forward.
Next up is most likely to end up with multiple divorces. Now, Kristen says maybe a divorce ends up in that. Or, she said something about taking risks and falling in love and finding beauty in a lot of things. And Mitch is like, oh shit, they're talking about my wife. And so he's like, Kristen says, and this person has already been engaged and is married to Mitch, and it's me. She said she even voted for herself. And Mitch says that it wasn't his vote. And he almost like he is kind of looking at her sideways, like,
because she said that she's taking a page out of his book for things that she doesn't like that he does. So he was like, he finds it ironic.
I was like, you know what? I really did enjoy Kristen this episode because instead of like before we seen her, I guess, kind of be emotional and trying to make it work for Mitch. And now she's like, I'm going to just play the same game that you play, but better. And maybe once you see how it's played, you'll start treating me differently.
No, Mitch loves it.
Let me tell y'all something. I don't play love games.
He loves it. He's like, she can joke on herself. Yeah, I love this, Kristen.
Stasha tells Mitch she better get his shit together. Now, Kristen says she doesn't think this is bad. And, he's like he said, he was just like, yo, she's basically playing love games with me because this is what I do to her. Prom king and queen go to Lindy and Miguel. I mean, of course. And Lindy says that it's the best moment of her life. Miguel, as they're doing their slow dance, the epic slow dance, Miguel says that he's happy that they had the conversation they had and that they were able to talk through things. Lindy says, well, basically, yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. So Miguel says,
is that what she said?
Yeah. Miguel says he wants to be able to trust the answers Lindy gives are reliable. And Lindy says in confessional, they're in a weird dance and she believes she needs to look at it as more of a learning experience. Now, Nate and Stasha barge in with the sex swing for Lindy and Miguel. And Stasha tells us in confessional, she knows that they're going through something right now, but she isn't sure what it is. And she doesn't want to impose, but thinks it's a good time to introduce the swing. And so, yeah, they introduced the swing to Lindy and Miguel. They're giving them directions. Lindy is like, I have to be strapped in. Oh my God. It was really funny and actually really cute. And you can tell that it changed the vibe that
it looked like Lindy started making up her own little positions in the swing. I was like, oh, okay, Lindy.
Look,
they might, how do you do
They might not let y'all dance, but they clearly let y'all read some books. I don't know what type of books.
All the couples are waking up. They seem like they're in a great mood after the beautiful evening they had at prom the night before. Lindy says that her and Miguel are going to go on a carriage ride. Kristen and Mitch are going to do some archery, and Justin has planned a surprise date for his wife. So he told his cutie pie to get beautified.
Mm-hmm.
Justin took Alexis to a winery. They were gifted bottles of wine that they decided to save for their 1 year anniversary. I said, that's okay. All right. We speaking
That was
into
really cute.
existence. And he says he's glad that they're in an intimate space. And she lets him know that, everybody noticed that he's all smiley now. And he's like, I don't know why people are saying that. Like, I'm always smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And she said,
Did you get the feeling as well that he tried to dumb it down? I
I
feel,
think,
like I don't, when you with your man and you have playful, sex, like, oh, I put it on your ass last night, da, da, da. And can you imagine if your man was like, it was just okay. It was like, I felt like
I didn't get that. What I got was when she said it seems like his energy changed. He said no, that he didn't think his energy changed. I think he was trying to say like he's always been this way, like the sex didn't change anything, like he's been like basically he's always been in a great mood.
Okay.
Is but we know that that's not the case. He's just
Right.
trying to, trying to say like nothing was wrong before with him anyways.
Mhm.
And she said that he's got that getting booty glow.
Right.
She tells him that she believes his energy has changed. Okay. And he's more relaxed since, they haven't argued and they've been good, and feels like, the sexual tension is gone. There's no pressure. And, he can be himself. So everything's been all good. And he says, it was a beautiful thing and it was great, but he feels like his energy was the same.
Y'all, I couldn't with Justin. I couldn't. I felt like Alexis was trying so hard to just build on their emotional intimacy.
I'm gonna tell you why he took it that way.
Okay.
He took it that way because the way she said it made it seem like the arguments in the past were his fault. All his fault.
Okay. Look at that, indeed. Okay.
Because she's saying like, okay, we're not arguing anymore. We're in a better space. And before that's what we were doing. So your energy shifted and now we're not arguing, which makes it seem like because you've had a shift in your energy, now we're good. Basically, it was all you before. That's why I think he took it that way. So he said, he said sometimes marriages just start off rough, but that's expected because everything has been expedited. And he says that he can't say, he's giving his all in this 8 weeks. Let me tell you something. If you could see the look on Alexis' face, he clearly just put his foot in his mouth. She's like, okay. So he says he's processing a lot of stuff and needs more time. And she says she feels like she's genuinely giving her all. And he explains that, that's not like what he meant. He's saying that certain things are going to happen in 8 weeks and it'll happen when the time is right. She says for her, she doesn't have to go through things to see how it makes her feel. Basically, all she needs to know is his characteristics and how he'll react. And, she can apply that same concept to everything else. She says it's the overall perspective. When is enough enough? And he says, remember when I told you that I was worried about you quitting? She's like, yeah, nigga, I remember. And he says that he feels like that's what it's going to be. I don't know if like editing missed something or what.
Okay, so it wasn't just you, because I was thrown off. I was like,
I had to rewind and I put what they said, but it wasn't, the math wasn't mathing. So, and Kristen and Mitch, they go out to do archery.
Yes.
He says they're in a good spot and he just likes to see her have fun and succeed at things because he thinks it makes her happy. And he does.
I said, okay, Mitch.
But he says that he's a little confused because she voted for herself as likely to get divorced, and he's going back and forth in his mind whether he should address it or not.
And he says, I'm gonna just keep my mouth shut because last time I thought about that, I got myself in trouble.
Period. They
At least
decided
he
to write.
learns from his mistakes. I give him that.
So they were actually doing really, really good. And then they decide to write on pieces of paper things that they want to let go and stop resurfacing or bringing up and shoot arrows through it.
I thought this was a really good idea.
I thought so too. The first word she puts, she says, is everyone's favorite buzzword for the both of them. And it's attraction. Yeah. She said, huh?
I said, yeah, kill that bitch.
Right? She said that she thinks she received clarity on how he feels about, his attraction towards her. And it's because he finally vocalized it.
Right.
So they can kill that word. He asked Kristen for her suggestion on what he should write. And she said, anything you want to put a bullseye through. Okay. And he chooses pool gate.
They got it. They
says,
need y'all.
Right. I think they both picked some really good words.
Yeah.
He says he thinks it was avoidable and they can do better. So he just wants to kill it.
I love what Kristen said. She said, hold on. She said, now, yes, it wasn't the best situation. And I feel like, you feel like I could have, done better. And she said, but that led to you opening up.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, I hate to say it, but what he's teaching her is, in a way, you rewarded bad behavior, as my man would say. You just rewarded my bad behavior. So now it puts me in a mindset that every time I have to go off on you or show my ass to get this from you. That's just me. It's going to start a very unhealthy pattern.
Well, she's looking forward to having an incredible weekend after this reward for bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So
and don't get me wrong, Kristen was right, but stand in your shit. Don't be like, I'm sorry now, and da-da-da-da. And
but
then
I think
validate you and say, hey, I did fuck up, I was wrong. I just wish you would have handled that differently. And you can say, I wish I had have too, but I'm not apologizing for
it. So I don't know if it was this circumstance, but I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you know how it is when your partner voices, even Ready to Love, we were talking, Swayze talked about this. When your partner voices something, you hear it, but it's like, they're super sensitive and, there's history behind that. But when an outsider says something and says it's an issue, you may look at it differently. So there's all these other people looking at him like, dude, like, that's a problem. Why would you say that? Right. So I don't know if it was her flipping out or if it was everyone else's opinion as well. Like, dude.
But like, Mitch gives me the type, he doesn't really care what anyone thinks about it.
A lot of people say that they don't care, but you can't help but to hear it and take heed to it. So it doesn't really matter what the hell he says.
And that's true. Because he doesn't want to drive a fancy car and live in a nice house because he cares about what people think. So,
and Miguel and Lindy, they go on their carriage ride, and he says that he's more excited for her to do it because he knows that this is something she was looking forward to. What, girl?
I just need to do my disclaimer. This is when I'm on Team Miguel. This is the scene. And the only reason I say that is because, and Nels can tell you, we always say this, if you know something about yourself, even if it's something as small as like really annoying characteristics, and you can recognize it and other people recognize it and have told you, you got to try to work on the shit. Like, and the only reason I say that is because I am a serial and habitual interrupter. I am passionate. And don't get me wrong, nobody continuously calls me out. It's just self-awareness and me realizing, oh shit, that was rude. And I have found it that I'll be like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Now, don't get me wrong, I still may continue talking, but I let you know that I wasn't trying to do that. I was just really trying to get out my thought. Or even sometimes I'll tell people, well, just remind me to tell you this once you're done with your thought. So
And I feel like people give you grace, one, because you apologize when you do it, and
Right.
two, because it is normally in a passionate conversation. It's not where someone else is passionate about something and you're just interrupting about little dumb, minute shit.
Bunnies and shit.
Right? So with that, I can understand why he got so upset.
No, that's why I said I'm Team Miguel. This one. This argument was bad. And then the fact that I can't go ahead. I'll let you get into
it. She basically told the whole damn scene.
I mean, we can make it brief for y'all. I'm just saying.
So yeah, he's excited to take her on this carriage ride because it's something she's looking forward to. She's never done it before. He says last night, they had a conversation about communication and he's feeling good. Lindy says this is her first time being on a carriage ride, and this counts as, a first official memory for them. Whatever.
Okay.
Miguel says that he has a poem, that he wrote a while ago.
Oh, was it a poem?
It was a poem, but it sounded more like a rap. It sounded like a rap. He said he goes to a beat. You know how some poems, I guess, go to a beat? He said he goes to a beat. It did sound more like a rap song, but, he's like saying it to her, and she interrupts him.
It's giving Steve and Noy, but Steve was much better.
So as he's saying this poem, she interrupts him to bring his attention to a bunny.
That was the first time.
That was the first. That's what I think it was. It was multiple times because he gave her grace.
He gave her grace.
He did.
The first time.
She tells him, "Thank you for sharing. And I love when you share your poetry." So he tries to tell her another one about him. Once again, she's interrupting to what? A horse.
Ponies. Ponies.
Yeah, to get him to look at ponies. So in the confessional, he says that it does bother him to be interrupted and for someone to talk over him, and says, he'd be able to roll with it better if he wasn't so irritable. And, he's running on fumes right now. So he's like a ticking time bomb. So they sit down and have some wine, and she says, like they're basically in Italy. Or is it like some Dungeons and Dragons type stuff? And this
Italy vibes, it was definitely given Kansas.
This is where it went left, because first of all, you brought up Dungeons and Dragons, man. This is where you fucked up. You really piqued his interest, okay?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, it could be like some magical horrors. And he starts getting all into his Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And once again, she interrupts him to talk about people on their phone. Oh yeah, they have their phones out.
That off no bullshit. I would have dropped the mic. I would have walked up. I'd be like, you know what? Why don't you go talk to them about their phones? Because
I think at one point he kind of, yeah. And she notices that he's clearly annoyed. So she asks him, how he's doing. And he says he really doesn't want to say anything because she's gonna get distracted by someone taking a picture or some shit and cut him off again. She said, she did get a little distracted and she apologized. He says he doesn't want to have a conversation with her and feel like, at a moment's notice, her attention is going to dissipate. And especially when it's something that he cares about. I'm telling you, he was already aggravated, but you piqued his interest with this damn Dungeons and Dragons, bitch. And then you didn't want to talk about it no more?
Wrong.
My God. So, she says that she's really sorry. And she says, she can definitely be a bird brain at times, sometimes, but she really is asking for some grace in this moment. And he's like, I'm giving it to you.
She's like, I just didn't, I don't know, Miguel. I don't know.
He was like, but then don't expect me to have any heartfelt conversations with you.
Woo! That one hit hard.
No, there was one that really hit hard that I actually played it back for my daughter. My daughter don't even watch this show, and I played it back for my daughter. My daughter was like, what?
And so, like I said, it hit hard for me because I can be Lindy, and I was like, I can only imagine if people stopped talking to me because I was like Like, I'm thank God I know it's a problem, so I'm fixing it. Lindy, you need to fix it or people are going to stop talking to you.
And that's so her excuse is, it's part of her personality. And he says to cut people off and divert your attention elsewhere. She's like, yeah, I guess so. So he's like, okay, in a 10-minute span, it was like one after the other. And she says, okay, I was making a comment about a bunny. Like, I'm just noticing the things around us. And he says we were in the middle of a conversation and it was kind of out of place. She doesn't understand. She's just like, she's never been with someone who was offended by that. And it's new for her. And he's like, oh, okay, well, have you ever had a husband that stuck around?
And she's like, no, but have you ever had a wife that stuck around? Like, what are you
saying? He's like, no, but I don't have people calling me out on this shit. And I'm your husband and I'm here and I'm telling you what the issue is.
And then I believe he also hints at, he basically lets her know, like, look, I'm, I've been holding back. I haven't really been going in as much as I've wanted to. And so now I feel like I'm stifling myself. And that's a problem when I can't have a basic, that's what I was trying to get to. I think he's irritated too, because he can't even address it without her having some type of meltdown, or what does he call it? Outburst. Like, I should come to you as your husband and be like, yo, this shit really bothers me. I really wish you would work on that. And that not be the detriment of the day or your relationship. And Lindy kind of goes overboard and then be like, well, if he thinks that's bad, I could do worse. But no, he's telling you, you're already at a 7, and he's telling you, but if you go any higher, you're going to be by your motherfucking self.
Or her response is, this is who I am. It's a part of my personality. So are you saying you can't accept it? And does that mean that we're going to break up then? So Lindy, she gets emotional. She says she's learning, she's trying, and it's a lot. And she gets up to leave. She says she's sick of feeling like she's not enough for him and worrying about, what he wants and what he needs. And she is bowing down. So he consoles her and apologizes and asks if, they can sit down and have a conversation about it. So they sit down and he apologizes for making her cry and pushing her to that point. What I need y'all to know is he never apologized for what he said. He means what he said. He's apologizing for his delivery and for making her upset.
He said it, but he said what he said.
He said what he said. And I think I think that didn't 100% register to Lindy. I think because he was consoling her, she's like, okay, it's okay now.
That's probably what she's used to. She said, this is her personality. She's used to having her outbursts, and somebody, you can tell something ain't right. She's off a little bit.
She says that, she doesn't know what else to do besides consistently, try to do better. And she feels like, nitpicked. And she doesn't know if it's like a her or if it's a Miguel thing. And he says, like, even before this, there were blow-ups. And she's like, you what? Like, you feel like this is a blow-up? She's like, no, I was just emotional. Okay. Like a blow up is like when you act crazy and you're over the top. And he's like, okay.
And Miguel said, not with me, bitch. Not with me.
Not today.
He's like, I won't let you get here, so we will never get there.
And in the confessional, she says that she feels like she's been filtering herself for this man and he can't handle her outbursts. And says, that if they ever had an issue like that, like he wouldn't be able to take it. He would not want to be with her, basically. And that's what he's telling you. So he's telling you to fix it before y'all get there.
I'm with him. Like I said, there wasn't one point in this scene that I did not agree with Miguel. The guys are sitting around outside while the ladies are inside making dinner, and they're all waiting on Lindy and Miguel. They question why they're so late, and Nate says if they miss dinner, something's wrong. And Nate's right.
They literally question their whole
marriage. And Mitch is like, I wouldn't go as far as to question the marriage. And they're like, Then the ladies are preparing dinner. Stasha asked Alexis about her and Justin finally consummating their marriage. Now, Alexis said it was awkward, but says the first time is always awkward, isn't it? She said that his stamina wasn't where it needed to be after being abstinent for so long. Now, and this is after he said they did it all night, but okay, we have differences of opinions. Maybe she did you, but it didn't sound like you were doing her. She also talks about not wanting to be dominant in the bedroom. We've heard this before. She keeps telling you, you better do something. Okay, you better call Nate and borrow a swing. Oh, that's all I'm saying. Now, Alexis asked the ladies if they weren't happy with the sex, would they stay? And I noticed both Kristen and Sasha's face. They're like, oh, so you gonna be real, huh? Like, I don't think even Kristen hasn't told us what happened in the bedroom with her and Mitch. Like, nobody has went this far.
This is the one who on the dance floor yelled out to her friends and family.
Okay, that's true. We know she can't hold water. My bad. I forgot.
Gossip queen, remember?
Yeah. So, and they do agree that there needs to be more to, your partner than just sex. Now Alexis says that she understands they won't be, tearing each other's clothes off every time. And she says she's been in relationships before where it wasn't bomb, but she stayed for other reasons. I was like, tell the truth, shame the devil. Miguel and Lindy finally return. Lindy is quick to get away from Miguel. She's like, hey, y'all, bye. She needs her time. Miguel sits down with the guys, and Mitch tells him because he was late, they started questioning his marriage. Now, he tells them he and Lindy got into an argument and says,
look, he was like, that was fair.
Right, that was fair. And he said, I don't know if it's because I'm grumpy or, but, and he's just like, my energy is not here. I knew that at the beginning of the week. And basically everything she's doing is just like irritating out of me. Mm-hmm. So Nate offers, he's like, do you need to borrow the swing again, bro? And then Justin chimes in and was like, are there height restrictions for the swing? And, and Nate is like, well, Justin, usually.
He was like, if you want to get in the swing, you can get in the swing.
He's like, but usually the woman is in the swing. And he's like, no, I know. And it was like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Because he want to be dominated.
We learned Alexis is not a toy person and says she doesn't want any. She is a pleaser. And, she feels like that's why she has a man. And I said, girl, you don't know what you're missing. We learned Kristen has 3 vibrators. And Sasha thinks she's tripping as well.
They ask it elevates it.
Right.
But I like that.
Good point. They asked Kristen what's going on in her and Mitch's bedroom. And, she wants to talk through it. She isn't sure what she should do because they're so up and down and hot and cold. She said, so your girl is just hanging. And Alexis jokes and was like, thank you for the monologue. I made it a lot shorter for you guys, but she really did give a monologue. Now, Mitch says that Kristen sort of apologized to him for Poolgate and bullseye the shit out of the attraction word, so they can't bring it up anymore. And he hopes that they move past it. Kristen says she wants to see how the remainder of their time goes before decision day. And Stasha asks her how she feels about their decision day. Kristen says the wife in her says she'll say yes. The woman or realist, as Alexis says no. So she wonders if there was enough good in the last 8 weeks. And Alexis asks if she's going to give Mitch more time, and she goes silent. Like it was like white noise. Okay. She eventually says time is more important to her, and she knows her ovaries aren't getting any younger. Sasha tells her that she's not going to find somebody who's perfect, and there are always going to be things that you don't like about somebody, but is it worth it? Now, then we jump into Nate and Stasha, and he is trying to figure out how to work the remote on her pleasure panties because she thinks it would be cute to wear them to dinner that night. And I was like, I don't know why she thought that was cute. at the dinner in her little booty shorts, how that was gonna go. But
I think she thought she could. I thought she thinks that she could control herself.
well, now, Lindy and Miguel, woo, 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 are preparing to head to dinner. When she requests one of the producers, Sammy,
I'm gonna get comfortable,
to take a video of her because she doesn't want to offend Miguel. And this is what I was talking about earlier. She's damned if she do, she damned if she don't. So because she asked somebody else to do it for her, now he mad about that.
First of all, let's say this. It was how she did it. When she explained it after the way she acted, yes, the explanation worked. But it was how she did it. Oh, can you can you take a video of me? Because I don't want to offend Miguel. Yeah, oh yeah, because it sounds like some shit she would do.
I was just about to say that.
That was some petty shit. That was some petty shit.
But we know I'm petty. Again, guys, I'm a work in progress. I know it. I acknowledge it. And I try to not be that way.
What she could have said was, hey, babe, how you feeling? Knowing that he's low energy and there was an issue earlier, do you mind taking a video of me, or can we take a video together or whatever?
Because I feel like if she would have asked him, he would have got mad. Because he's like, we already had, like, I can understand the perspective of, if I ask you and you say no, then it's going to put a bad taste in my mouth and make me feel some type of way. You've already said you're feeling some type of way all day or all weekend.
That's why we asking. That's why we checking in. How are you feeling? Do you mind taking a video of me?
Okay. Yeah. So no, Miguel is real upset because, you know, Lindy is playing in his face, basically. According to Nels, I still feel like she was damned if she did, damned if she didn't.
Because you're used to doing it. Basically, Lindy was throwing shade when she was up there, and then when she saw that he actually caught the shade, she tried to smooth it over and act like that's not what it was. Don't do that. And tried to act like, oh no, I was trying to be considerate of your feelings. It was bullshit, and Miguel caught it. And
Miguel says he tells her, are you reading my energy level right now?
And well, he said, if you were to read my energy level, bitch, read the room. What are you getting? What are you getting right now?
She's like, well, you know, I'm not good at that, Miguel. I didn't know. What do you want me to say?
That's part of the problem. You need to grow the fuck up. When you see somebody looks like they're aggravated and agitated, maybe you should just shut the fuck up and leave them alone.
I have learned that, Shade Squad. I have learned that much. I'm not that bad.
Not at all.
Right. So Miguel is basically like, you know, I feel like you don't understand what's important to me. And basically he feels like all the time that I spent talking to you in the house, I feel like went nowhere. And there's no point, you know, in basically continuing to trying to talk things out with her because he feels like he's going to be misunderstood anyway. So she goes to ask him for a hug. Child.
He said, no, ma'am.
He said, no, I'm not feeling it. And I'm not going to lie. In that moment, I definitely would have been Lindy. I definitely would. That broke me down.
The dramatics.
It would have been me. Because I feel like even if I'm mad at you, that's just me. I feel like if I'm mad at you or whatever the case may be, we can still get through things. Like we don't.
But what he's seen,
give me a hug and say I love you. And
the problem is what he has seen is when he forgives or when he says, you know what, I'm sorry, I made you cry. She takes it as you accept my bullshit. So if he was to give her a hug in that moment, she's feeling like, okay, we're past the bullshit. We're good now. And they're not. And he wants her to understand that.
He wants her to understand what the issue is so she'll stop doing it.
Exactly. Versus sweeping shit under the rug. Now give me a hug. We're good now.
Right.
So that's why he's like, no, we're not on the same page. We're not connecting. We're not aligning. And no, I don't feel like hugging you.
Well, I guess that's why they called it no hugs for you. So, yeah. And basically Lindy feels like she can't say anything right or do anything right. And Miguel says he needs her to understand the nuances. And he says he wasn't mad at her when she asked Sammy to do the video, Lindy calls him out for gaslighting her as well. She's like, no, Miguel, you were mad. And I was like, okay, great points. He was bothered. So the same thing that he doesn't want from her, he was doing to her. She then lets out this evil laugh. It was like Pinky in the brain. Like, it was just like, I was like, oh.
I feel like it woke me up. Like, I think I was actually like kind of like dozing off, like as I was taking notes for that part.
Back and forth, yeah.
And then once she did the laugh, I was like, what the hell? What the hell was that? It was a bit much.
And she tells Miguel, I am about to go crazy. And she had a very crazy look on her face. So Miguel tells her, she could have asked if she wanted a picture, and you know, he could have said yes or no. Lindy says that I'll put that in my book of how to act.
Who is that?
Hands down. I'm not gonna lie. Here's my thing. You can be upset, but communicate it effectively. What I'm not gonna let you do is take digs at me when we're trying to communicate, and because I may be the one in the wrong.
How is he taking digs? She's taking digs. She's like,
no,
petty bitch.
He's saying, look, I need you to understand nuances. Rita.
Yes, because she's not understanding that it's not about the picture or the video. So I need you to understand the actual reason why I'm upset.
Again, I'll put that in my book of how to act. Just like
he's saying, I'm not upset that you asked this guy to take the video. I'm upset you didn't ask me. I'm upset after the conversation we had. You didn't come to me and say, hey, can you take this video of me or check and see how I'm doing? And if it's, you know, after my low energy, checking to see if I'm willing to do it. I don't give a damn that you asked production to do it, but you didn't ask me to do it. And instead you were being petty and said, because I don't want him to get offended. That's what he means by knowing the nuance.
I guess she could have some points, but
Lindy, the one over here trying to get past shit, but taking low blows and being petty.
I just feel like I could be wrong as hell, but what
it's like she's giving him new reasons to get mad within the argument by saying the little dumb shit she's saying.
I don't know, because I feel like some of he said was warranted, but again, I'm not all the way Lindy, so I can't. So anyway, she says she's not trying to do anything, and Miguel says he doesn't know if they can work through this, and she sees that as a threat. So he says it's just, you know, he says
she sees everything as a threat.
Huh?
She sees everything as a threat.
She feels like if she doesn't do everything he says, how he says, he threatens her.
No, he just wants her to grow up and act like a fucking adult.
Anyway, Lindy feels like she can't do anything right and has a meltdown. She says she doesn't want to go to dinner. She is not hungry anymore. And she is just, at this point,
be left alone.
Yeah, depleted. And she runs off. And Miguel is just sitting there like, well, I said what I said. I guess it didn't go over well. I mean, that's how he was kind of. He was like, is she going? So does that mean I don't get to go to dinner? Just because she ain't eating, I don't get to eat. So Lindy is sobbing in the bathroom, and Miguel comes in to talk to her. And I think it was reluctantly. I think he felt bad because other people were there, but I feel like if they were at home, he might have let her tough that shit.
Probably right.
Again, I guess maybe the reason why I can identify certain Lindy is because I feel like my dude can kind of be a Miguel. So I could definitely
and Trace could be a little dramatic.
Right. So I could definitely see him let me cry it out in the bathroom, and I'm not coming to comfort you because I'm not rewarding bad behavior. And when you're ready to come back and get your senses about yourself, we can talk, but I'm not coming to comfort you when you were wrong. I've heard that. So like maybe she gotta learn the rough way. She tells him when he rejected her, it was painful, and she's been holding those tears in for a while now. He tries to explain that he wasn't rejecting her. He wasn't feeling connected to her. And he says it's messy because he is trying to open up more to her and be honest. He said that he is overreacting to things because he feels he's been holding back. So Lindy is like, so that's you opening up? This is you opening up? This is what you opening up means? And he's like, yes.
I think she didn't get the fact that he said because he's been holding back things. So now it's like all like a boil over. I think she missed that part.
And then he realizes, based off of her emotions, that it's too soon. And maybe it'll take them years before he can get there and just be open and honest with her. He apologized for the hug, but said, if I would have gave it to you, it would have been the fakest hug ever. I said, well, live in your truth, Miguel. Like I said, I guess I'm just kind of immune to it because I deal with it. Trust me, there have been many days I can't get a hug. I feel
imagine he's an earth sign, so this is times 10.
Miguel knows that the negative version of him is moody and low-key disrespectful. I have a moody and low-key disrespectful man as well. Miguel feels that they've hit a wall. And Lindy says the whole time she thought they were good, and they weren't. So that scares her. She tells him she feels he's looking for a reason to not be with her. And I'm not going to lie to you. In the beginning of this episode, and as things started happening, and the more and more he started to pick at things, I said, it's weird because he did say he kind of like he's all in at first, and then he just, and I'm like, here we are at the 8-week mark. Like he said in the beginning, he prefaced this, and now he's calling out all these things that he's been dealing with 8 weeks, ain't really said nothing about, and now all of a sudden it's like a deal breaker.
But I don't think it's okay. So is that what you got from him? Because
not deal breaker, but I think he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say yes on decision day.
Because she's not changing anything. But I feel like from the beginning, he's told her, like, I have issues with these things. I have issues with your negativity. I have issues with the fact that you get upset about like the smallest shit. Like he's constantly said this, right? But now it's getting down to the wire where they're about to make a decision, and it's like I haven't seen any growth. So I don't think that it's been like it's just coming out of nowhere, but he's also not saying it's a deal breaker. I mean, he feels like it's a deal breaker if it continues, but he wants to see changes before it's time to make the decision. And she's just like, this is my personality. But that's not what she was saying in the beginning.
I agree. So, yeah, no, the couples are at dinner. And they are discussing how Lindy and Miguel are missing, but believe they have some issues that they want to work on and don't want to do so at the dinner table, which I thought was super respectful. Stasha and Nate are having a good old time with that remote. Stasha tells Nate in confessional about Justin and Alexis having sex and how she was super nonchalant about it. Kristen says she enjoyed the weekend and thought about what they learned and enjoyed spending time with Mitch. They have a cute kissy face moment. Then Alexis asks if Mitch is attracted to her now. He says yes, and he says yes, and lets Alexis's messy ass know that they are no longer using that word.
Nope. Colgate is dead in the water.
Right. Meanwhile, Stasha can't sit still, eat, or pay attention to anything that's going on because Nate apparently cannot figure out how to turn.
Vibrating between her legs.
So one of the ladies asked if she's okay. I believe it was Alexis.
I think it was Alexis too.
And then I believe it was Kristen that finally figured out she had on the vibrating panties.
No, it was Alexis too. And then Kristen was like, is that what's going on?
That's funny.
Like, what? Why didn't we think of that?
Right. And then once she figures that out, once everybody knows and it's no longer a secret, Sasha's like, well, good, because I can't do it no more.
Yeah, she got up and ran. She
runs off. And Nate follows behind her, which I thought was very appropriate. Go work that out.
Right. I thought they was
that would have happened.
Look, I was like, oh, he was like, what you not about to do is be at the table all squirmy and then get up and then we ain't about to go take care of no shit. He was like, I'm right behind you, boo.
Now, around after dinner, They're joined by Lindy and Miguel now. He is apologizing for his craziness and wants to make things right with Lindy. He admits when he gets into these negative moods, he becomes hypersensitive and irritable, and he took it out on Lindy. He says he wants to communicate better and apologizes again. Lindy looks drained. She ain't got much to say. She said, thank you for saying that, but you could tell it's very like, And Lindy says her weekend has been a roller coaster for her, and she wants to work, but she still wants to work on making things work with Miguel. Now, Kristen comes in.
Yeah, Mitch noticed that she was missing.
And Kristen comes in dressed as Mitch, giving her best Mitch impression, and it was actually very good. Even
like, keep in mind, imitation is the best form of flattery, okay?
Right.
She did great.
And Mitch actually enjoys it. He's cracking up. He's laughing. And he said that he's really liking this side of Kristen that he's seeing. And he hopes that they can keep up the progress that they've made so far.
So they even made fun of the whole shirt situation.
Right.
Everybody was like, it's just a shirt, Mitch. It's just a shirt.
You know what this shirt is made of?
Right? It was cute. So the group is going to play dodgeball. And, you know, they suggest that it should be guys against girls. And we find out that Lindy is pretty competitive. Okay, but she don't really want to do guys against girls.
And apparently she's really good at volleyball. That's what she said. She was like, oh, this is my game. Like, I'm sorry, not volleyball, dodgeball.
I was like, what?
Wrong season.
I was like, why is she talking about volleyball when they were playing dodgeball? She says really she doesn't want to do it because, you know, guys are physiologically, you know, they have more advantages than men. And than women. And Mitch is like, yeah, you know, our penises are definitely an advantage for us. So, and this is what they were talking about, class clown, making them uncomfortable. I was like, okay. Miguel is like quiet. He's super disengaged. And he says, you know, he's really ready to call it quits on this whole retreat. He says he's ready to drive back home, but he's staying for Lindy because she wants him to stay, and you know she wants to have fun, and she thinks it's a good idea for him to blow off some steam. Girl, we find out you should just let this man go home.
You should let him go home.
Just let him go home. Kristen says, you know, this would be the most fun that they've had since they were spending time, I guess, together before.
I think she said out of all the times that they spent together, this was time.
This would be the most fun
since they met. Yeah.
And you know, because she's spending time with her man.
And they're actually liking each other for once.
Right. Miguel, let's do
attraction.
Huh?
I said it's finally mutual attraction.
All you needed to say was that you was attracted to her. See what it did. See what it now she feel like she
I'm telling you, affirmations are like,
now she feel like she can't do no wrong. You gonna like me regardless. See if I act a fool or what.
Right.
Miguel lets the group know that, you know, this weekend's been challenging for him and he's running on fumes. And he knows, you know, he's not his best self, and he apologizes to Lindy that, you know, it affected her, and says there's so much that, you know, works with them, and he wants what?
This is where Miguel lost me. This ass backward apology that he gave.
He says he wants them to work and thinks that, you know, it's just terrifying that he doesn't know how to make it work, and says they just need to sit down and find a solution. So Mitch lightens the mood by saying, in conclusion, marriage is a lot like dodgeball. You can either continue to run and not deal with it, or you can stand your ground and catch that motherfucking ball. Alexis said that was actually profound.
And it was a nice way to clean up that messy ass Miguel did.
Yes, he definitely, you know.
Because it was awkward. Everybody was sitting there after he said what he said.
Everybody was talking about some fun shit, and he's just like
in positivity, and he was the one being negative. This one I was like, oh.
Yeah, he needs to go home. He needs to go home. So they get out on the field and they begin to play, and Lindy is kicking ass with her competitive ass. So somebody hit Miguel right in the balls. I wonder if that had something to do with why he was pissed off.
That'll do it.
And let me tell you something. The red team is easily taking the win. Was on it. I think the only person that wasn't doing so well was Mitch. Alexis said he could have been the mascot. He was, you know, just running from the hits. Just, I don't know how well that worked out for him. At one point, Miguel was the only one on his team, going against everybody on the red team. And once all the balls got, to his side, Lindy was like, come on, let's get him rapid fire. She wanted everybody to get his ass. And he's like, damn, whose team are you on? And she says, I'm on my team. Okay. And he catches the attitude and he's like, well, that's good to know. I was like, oh.
Miguel caught a real attitude, y'all.
Yeah. So after the game, with his little stank ass attitude, he's like saying like, little words of affirmation would be great for your husband. That'll go a long way. I was like, sir, you lost. What words of affirmation do you want? Great job losing, babe. Great job getting your ass kicked. So I don't know what, In the confessional, Lindy says that, he had an outburst. Since that word is getting thrown around so much, she want everybody to know that he had an outburst. And she gonna throw it right back at his ass. Team goes to sit down. They all, like they high five and talk about how great of a job they did. And she says that, she feels like some feelings were hurt though. And Nate says, he wasn't even paying attention because Nate was in the game. Nate was busting ass too.
Yeah, he was.
And she says she feels like the game was, like that's what you're supposed to do in the game. Like you're supposed to talk shit and like have banter back and forth.
Right. I was gonna say me and Miguel really could not be together because you know how I get.
But she says she does feel bad that, she felt like that he felt like she wasn't on his team, although she really physically wasn't. Mitch says maybe you could just play it down and, it can be over. And she's like, no. Nope, not with Miguel, sir. Nate asks if she thinks there's some residual emotion from the other night. And she's like, absolutely. The build up, they're exhausted from all the emotional stuff. And he's super sensitive right now. Alexis asks if she thinks that he would have received it better, if they didn't have such an emotional weekend. And she says, absolutely, because, he doesn't act like this normally over such lighthearted things. And she feels like he's really at his wit's end. So Miguel is over there talking to the blue team. And let me tell you something. One conversation sound more positive than the other. I'm going to tell you that.
Okay.
Lindy was definitely talking more positive than Miguel was. Miguel is with his team and, he's talking about Lindy. And he says, she can be lively sometimes. But, he's still trying to learn still trying to learn her. And, it's not that she yells, although, I guess to him it sounds like it, but really it's her tone. And it feels like, it does get high. She gets animated and it makes him start to shut down and try to de-escalate. But it also makes him feel like he's censoring himself. And, like he said, it makes him feel like shit because he didn't get to say all the things that he wants to say because we know how she gets hypersensitive.
Right.
Lindy says it's such an intense process and she doesn't know how to be there for him. And Lindy starts crying actually and just talking about how they can't expect everything to be perfect right off the bat. And it takes time. Alexis asks her like, boo, what's going on? Like, where's these tears just coming from? Like, and she said that, she just can't keep it. Huh?
They thought y'all was good over there.
Right. And she says she just can't keep it under wraps anymore. And it feels like her being herself is just never right with Miguel. She said she can't open her mouth and make a joke around him or be supportive. It feels like everything she does is not right. And she feels blindsided because she says this whole time she thought they were doing well. And clearly they weren't. Miguel tells the group that it's like a vicious cycle because you almost start despising the person you're becoming and you can't remove yourself. So you're locked in and reactive and he hates being that way. Jesus. So in the confessional, Sasha says that she wants to say that she's seen some changes in Miguel, but she can't. And says she thinks that he's still trying to get through the 8 weeks and says that Lindy is dramatic and she's emotional and it's probably tough for Miguel to deal with. And he's not used to that. Lindy says that she feels so beat down. He'll tell her one thing that, you know, she did wrong. And while she's implementing that, there's 6 more other things that she's doing that's out of line.
Woo, okay.
Yeah. She says the hard part is when they're in these moments, he pulls away and she feels rejected. Miguel is saying he's very much in love with her and he wants to continue to grow with her, but he just doesn't know. Lindy's worried that he's been harboring all this stuff all along and now he's hit his limit. And says that he told her that he might be done and feels like their relationship has been so good, but now it's like when one thing is wrong, he's just ready to bounce. So now Miguel is questioning whether they're the right people for each other. And Lindy says this weekend has been the worst ever for her and she can't continue to be his punching bag.
Thank you guys for tuning into another review of Married at First Sight. Season 15, episode 14. Isn't it 14? Yeah, 14.
I think so.
So yeah, if you have not already, guys, please make sure that you hit that like button.
You comment.
You subscribe.
And you hit the notification bell.
And yes, please make sure that you are following us on all platforms. And thank you guys so much for the support and the love. We appreciate you and have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.